malfeasance. We're joined now by former House Speaker, author, and informal Donald Trump advisor, Newt Gingrich. Mr. Speaker, thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
So what's the truth, in your view, at the bottom of this? To what extent did the Russians interfere in this election?
No more than the United States interferes all over the world through the U.S. Information Agency. I mean, I don't see any. Apparently, and I have not seen the report, apparently the report says they didn't change any votes. I don't even understand what the word hacking means in this context. They apparently did not go in to try to change any votes in any precinct in America.
Right.
So the American people voted without interference. The Russians may have engaged in disinformation. Whether that's more disinformation than the New York Times routinely engages in, I have no idea. And I don't take it very seriously. I mean, this is a country where Al Jazeera is available by cable, for Pete's sake.
So you heard a number of different intelligence officials express outrage that President-elect Trump was, in effect, degrading what they do or casting aspersions on their honesty.
Oh, well, I'm happy to cast aspersions. I believe we have clear evidence over and over again that there are people very high in the intelligence community who have been politically redesigning what they say. And who were trying to respond to what they thought the Obama administration wanted. We have a clear case in the Central Command where 50 different analysts signed a letter, which is very unusual, saying that their commanding general had been pressuring them to understate the power of ISIS to fit the White House's definition. I mean, that's a clear public. There's an inspector general investigation right now. And they were basically saying their implication was that the director of national intelligence was putting pressure on the Central Command to produce reports that fit the White House's worldview.
That would be James Clapper.
That would be James Clapper, who I've known and is a good friend, and I've thought very highly of James over the years. But the fact is, those 50 analysts argue that the pressure was on to issue reports that understated the danger of ISIS.
So am I misremembering this? This is James Clapper who said today, the director of national intelligence, as you said, who said, and I'm quoting, "Our assessment is now even more resolute that Russia interfered in this election," which is a politically charged thing to say. Is this the same James Clapper who assured the country that the NSA was not spying on Americans and turned out to be lying when he said that?
Well, that's the whole, look, the whole challenge you've got, and we probably need a national dialogue. I'm not sure we need a national debate, but we need a national dialogue about how the modern world's going to work. You have Sony gets hacked, presumably by North Korea, although we don't totally know that. The fact is we don't have a very good grip on how this stuff works and who does what. And you have people who have false flag operations. So maybe it was the Russians, or maybe it was the Chinese pretending to be the Russians. Or, we don't understand all this stuff. I am very suspicious that this has been going on for, I mean, what does it say to you about the American intelligence system? This has been going on for over a year. They don't really discover it until Trump wins. I mean,
do you think,
why weren't they saying it 6 or 8, 9 months
having
ago?
been around this a lot, to the extent you can surmise, do you think actually the intelligence community doesn't know that's possible?
I think no. Let me say up front, I'm very sympathetic to how hard it is to know things that are secret. I mean, I went through and reviewed the weapon of mass destruction report that was the base of the Iraq campaign under Bush. And I think it was honestly their best assessment. It was an assessment which the Russians, the Italians, the British, and the French all agreed with.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be wrong, because the nature of intelligence is you often don't know things even if you think you know them.
That's right.
And we overvalue it in that sense. It's important, but you shouldn't say that it's definitive. Cyber behavior, cyber warfare is a new world. None of us have a very good grip on it. The National Security Agency is probably the best in the world, but they're the best in a way that is shrinking because the zones of grayness are getting bigger. Right. The number of players are getting bigger. There are more and more small groups of criminal hackers who are astonishingly successful, who steal hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And in this environment, what I find suspicious, if you will, and I don't want to overstate it.
Right.
The President of the United States, Barack Obama, is in essence telling us that in the last year of his administration, after he'd had 7 years to fix this, something may have been going on for 12 months that they're not totally sure of. But now in the last weeks, they have decided to issue a report which is filled with uncertainty while they're saying they're certain.
Right. Posing as absolute certainty. In that way, it's a classic Washington summation, I would say. Mr. Speaker, thanks a lot for joining us.
Good to see you.